It's showtime.
It's the pre-party with J. Cal.
We are professional wrestling.
I'm building an alliance.
You are tuned into
the absolute top of the mountain, the ultimate professional wrestling.
Alliance-wrestling.com.
Hey, what is up, everybody? It's your boy, J. Cal, and this is the pre-party, a presentation of Alliance-wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance and the United Wrestling Network. And we're here to talk pro wrestling. We're here to talk a little Southern flavor. We're talking the National Wrestling Alliance. We're talking championship wrestling from Atlanta. That's where I was last week, guys. If you guys normally tune in on Thursday nights to check out our recap, our review, our show dedicated to recapping NWA Power, you notice we weren't here last week. That's because I was in Atlanta. And we were talking wrestling in Atlanta. We were talking with my buddy Larry Bowsers. We were talking to Dave Marquez. We were talking to Dustin Starr. Hey, we were talking to Dave. It's still real to me, damn it, guy. So we were doing a lot of talking out there. Johnny LaQuasto, talking up Zicky Dice. We were talking wrestling all out there in Atlanta. And it was really fun. Very cool show. We'll get to that in a minute. NWA Powers, we got news coming out of the NWA that's going to impact September the 10th. We'll get to that momentarily. We'll profile tonight's show. But for just 1 minute, I'm going to take a brief pause. I'm going to say real quick that Daphne Unger was one of my favorite spectacles in WCW. Her time with David Flair and Crowbar was always so much fun to me. The just weird things that they would do. Her just effervescence, her craziness inside the ring, her time in Impact Wrestling, her time out here in the Southern California Indies. It's heartbreaking, guys. It's devastating. If there's someone out there that you know, that you love, that you haven't heard from in a while, reach out. It takes 5 seconds to give somebody a phone call. Be that person, be that friend. Nobody should leave the way that Daphne did. And for that, I'm just going to be quiet for a second. Okay, a lot of great wrestling this week. A lot of great wrestling happened. I see Brian Rosa in the house. Brian, what is up, my friend? Good to see you. There's Lamb is in the house. Doty's in the house. Terry McDermott, Willie Bowen, wrestling with the MMA, and anyone else who I am missing. Thank you for joining. Dave Scooby, of course. I can't forget our pal Dave Scooby. He did the intro for this podcast, if you didn't know that. Wrestling with the MMA says Daphne was the only reason he watched the WCW during the Russo era. Yeah, I mean, she was a delight. She was fun. And wrestling's supposed to be fun. A lot of times people get caught up in, work rate. These promos all have to make sense. Not everything has to make sense. Sometimes things just need to be fun. And her interactions, again, with David Flair and Crowbar, I mean, it was just so much comedy, so much fun, and it's a real bummer that she felt that was her only recourse, and mental health is no joke, and I'm not here to make light of it. I'm so just devastated by the news. I was on the airplane when I found out about it, and man, it's heartbreaking, and I'm so sorry for Shannon's family and her friends and her fans, and we wish them nothing but peace through all this, and you can't make sense of something like that. It's just awful. But yeah. so I was in Atlanta. I was en route to Atlanta, the craziest 24 hours I've had in quite some time. I literally got on a plane at 6:15 in the morning local time, flew to Atlanta just hours before the show started, was able to kick back with my friend Larry, watch some of the championship wrestling from Atlanta take place. And guys, Center Stage is awesome. If you guys ever have a chance to check out a concert or a wrestling show in the great city of Atlanta, I definitely recommend checking out Center Stage. It is such a cool venue. There's no such thing as a bad seat in the house. Just talking more about championship wrestling from Atlanta. If you're familiar with the United Wrestling Network or familiar with David Marquez's promotions over the past few years, championship wrestling from Hollywood, championship wrestling from Arizona, championship from wrestling from Atlanta had a lot of mystique that kind of emanated from California. You could see similar pacing, similar match styles. We had Uptown Andy Brown and Manny Lemons, both of whom had wrestled in championship wrestling from Hollywood, appear on this card. We had a wide amount of NWA talents appear on this show. We had, I'm not surprised that Slice Boogie made his appearance at Center Stage with championship wrestling from Hollywood. He, representing Bodega, teaming with Danny Limelight, defended the United Wrestling Network tag titles against Violence in Action. And these guys, they kind of fall in line with what you would anticipate for the National Wrestling Alliance. Guys who are built bigger, stronger, faster, genuine heavyweights. And to see Danny Limelight and Slice Boogie in the ring with guys who are bigger, stronger, Slice Boogie, look, you got to give Slice Boogie all the credit in the world. He stands in the ring next to Crimson. He stands in the ring next to Jack Stain. And although he definitely has a smaller disadvantage with these guys, he never looks out of class. Danny Limelight is a legit junior heavyweight. So when you put him in the ring next to a guy who's 6'4", 280 pounds, it's very significant. And so, I won't spoil the show. I won't spoil any of the results, but seeing Slice Boogie and Danny Limelight outsmart, outthink, and work a match with guys who are much bigger than them was very entertaining, and definitely a match that you should check out when this thing all comes to a head on September the 18th on Peachtree TV. Now, there's speculation. People are wondering if it's going to bounce onto YouTube. The rumor has it, the speculation is it might be on Fight. On Fight. The home of the NWA. The home of a lot of United Wrestling Network programs. You could check out old episodes of Hollywood and Arizona. I don't believe Memphis is on Fight. I think Memphis is exclusive to YouTube. So, but there was a lot of great talents there. There was a lot of guys who are part of the Nightmare Factory who had showed up and showed out, and they really put in some work. I think when you guys check this out, it's gonna be a lot of fun. I don't think you're gonna find matches to rival AEW, and I say that, but then the main event for the night's tapings was none other than Jonathan Gresham, your Ring of Honor Pure Championship, taking on Michael Bennett in what really could have been a 5-star Meltzer match anywhere else on the planet. Those two really put in the work. That match was incredible. One of the best scientific wrestling matches I'd ever seen. Now, I've known about Jonathan Gresham going all the way back to the 01 USA days when he was a 01 junior heavyweight championship in both the United States and in Japan, and he was wrestling quite regularly for 01 in Japan, and that guy has just improved and improved and improved. If you're not familiar with his work in Ring of Honor, Jonathan Gresham isn't the tallest dude in the world, but he is extremely believable in that ring. He can tie you up like a pretzel, and watching him and Michael Bennett go back and forth, just chef's kiss. That's wrestling right there, folks. That is, by definition, wrestling to its best form. If you guys get an opportunity, again, this will probably be the main event near October or maybe even after October. One of the best matches I've ever seen live, and definitely if you base your wrestling tastes on what Dave Meltzer would think, I'm sure Meltzer would give this match some snowflakes, if you will. I'm seeing some of your comments. Let's see, Lamb. Yeah, it was outlandish, and I actually did drop off one of these shirts to Mr. Zicky Dice. So if you ever see him wearing that shirt, just realize that was a freebie. And I also gave him one of our little hats over here. So hopefully he wears that in good health. We get to see that more often. Dodie says the NWA should consider about doing the pay-per-view in center stages while GPB remains for TV tapings. Dodie, I couldn't argue with you at all. Center stage is a great venue. It certainly has a greater capacity for an audience than what they were getting at GPB studios. But at the same time, why break something that's not real, or why fix something that's not really broken? They're able to get about, I think they had 400 to 500 people in there at the GPB studios, and it looks good on TV. I don't know, but it was kind of cool being in that building, just knowing that historically, like, WCW had taped there, Ring of Honor had taped there, I believe NXT is even taped there. So being in that building was really cool. And someone like me who's a wrestling, kind of like a wrestling historian, having that moment there was pretty cool. And knowing that next weekend I'm going to be in another historic wrestling venue, the Auditorium de Tijuana, I'm very excited to just keep checking off these boxes, being at center stage, being at the Asylum in Nashville, being at the Grand Olympic Auditorium here in Los Angeles. When I was in Charlotte, it wasn't a large wrestling historic building, that Carbus Arena, but it was still cool to be there. And so, but again, going back to Championship Wrestling from Atlanta, it's supposed to kick off on Peachtree TV, which isn't just in Atlanta. That channel actually goes to a lot of networks in Canada. Now, Peachtree TV used to be the original WTBS, the superstation that used to carry all of the NWA programming back in the day. The things changed in the last 10 or 20 years, where it went from being regulated and separated from the superstation that you get on cable here in the United States. But in Canada, many houses are still picking up Peachtree TV. So it's kind of cool that you're going to see, if you are in Canada, you'll be able to pick up Championship Wrestling from Atlanta on most cable and satellite providers. And I think that is pretty dope. Lamb brings up the Awakening and the Ascension. And you know what, Lamb? You are correct. I got my big guys mixed up. You're right. It was the Awakening or the Ascension. Violence in Action, where it was another group of guys similarly built. But you're right, Lamb. Not enough sleep since I've been here from Atlanta. But yeah, that was a good, the Ascension. And the way that it worked was a lot of fun too, because you had these guys, WWE guys, super heavyweight guys. And you had Danny Limelight, who again is like a $185 on a very heavy day. And the way that you had to work that match, there was a lot of, working. It wasn't just straight up wrestling. There was some showmanship, and watching that, you kind of get invested, you buy into it. Juicy Fanu, I think is how you pronounce it. That dude is incredible. He's so much bigger than what I was led to believe. He's a genuine super heavyweight. Again, some of these guys, they ring all the bells that you would think of for the NWA, but nevertheless, they're here and they're working for United Wrestling Network, so it's pretty cool. And then I got to see, Dustin Starr from Memphis, and Bryce Rudo was announcing he works the Championship Wrestling from Lake Charles out there in New Orleans. So it was pretty cool to see all that. Pro Wrestling Zone podcast in the house. Rick Del Santo, my friend, how are you? The Certified Hustlers here, and you know it's Certified G right there. But it was a lot of fun. So again, not that I want to spend too much more time on it, but if you guys are perusing the channels on Saturday, September the 18th, make sure you're looking for Peachtree TV. If it's not in your local market, stay tuned. YouTube or Fight, I'm sure it's going to be somewhere. They haven't officially announced where, but I think Fight might be the one that pick it up. And again, it was just it was really cool environment. Like I said, a lot of students from the Nightmare Factory, a lot of Georgia-based wrestlers. It's not just people like, you know, not just a bunch of SoCal guys or guys from Memphis, but it was a nice mix. I mean, the Tate twins were there from Ohio Valley. Those dudes were a lot of fun. And then I see Brian Rosa say he wants to see Dave Marquez versus Billy Corgan in a steel cage match. I mean, Billy's got height on Dave, right? I mean, Billy's a tall dude, but Dave is no slouch, man. He just checked in at the at his doctor's office today. He's dropped 5 pounds, so he's getting into wrestling shape himself. Personally, I would like to see somehow, some way that these promotions could work together. And I know that's probably asking just a little bit too much these days, but man, I look at what's happening with Georgia, or excuse me, with the NWA, and being able to put on these great shows out in St. Louis, Missouri, and then come back to Atlanta in December and put on more great shows. And then you've got Marquez, who's doing this promotion out in Atlanta using Atlantean talent. Am I saying that right? Talents from the local state, the Peach State, if you will. And then you've got Championship Wrestling from Memphis. They just had Camille appear on their show on September the 5th, and she was working in a tag team match. She did some autograph signing. I mean, that's pretty cool. And the fact of the matter is, you know, Trevor Murdoch is a guy who Dave Marquez would not hesitate to use on his programming if Billy and company were okay with it. But again, it's just one big cluster F, if you don't mind me saying. And it's disappointing that things don't work out. You know, but it would be cool to see that world's heavyweight champion or the world's women's champion defend in these United Wrestling Network territories. And of course, the United Wrestling Network World's Championship, that got postponed. That title match got postponed due to Tropical Storm Hydra. I don't know what it was called, but it was I guess LaGuardia Airport in New York got just rained hard on. It was flooded, and there was just no escaping New York for Chris Dickinson, so that match didn't happen. But nevertheless, looking forward to seeing some more from the United Wrestling Network, and hopefully that title match will happen soon. Seeing some of your guys' comments. Let's see. Certified Hustler asked if they will go after Alexander Hamilton to the NWA. I think you meant Hammerstone. And no, I don't think they will. I think because he's locked up with MLW, but I don't know how much longer MLW can keep Hammerstone. You know, the world is perennially his oyster. We're all just living in it. At some point, that guy is going to break through greater than just MLW. And that's not putting down the MLW. I mean, they're offering guys contracts, but it's just a guy like Hammerstone, I think he can make money anywhere. I think, you know, especially if you're the WWE, you look at a guy like Hammerstone, and he checks so many boxes. I'm surprised he's not already signed. And if he's too old, if he's aged out of it, you know, a company like Impact or a company like AEW, it only makes sense. And a guy like Hammerstone, when the world is opened up and we're not stuck in this global pandemic, I mean, he was making dates with Pro Wrestling Noah as well. So he's a guy that I think could really land anywhere, and he might just be staying local, staying with MLW to kind of keep his options open for a later day. But no, I don't see him going to the NWA. Willie asked, do you think that United Wrestling Network wrestlers would make an appearance on NWA Power? I mean, they already are. Jordan Clearwater is a representative of Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. Slice Boogie, both of those guys appeared from Power. Oh, and then I forgot to mention there was a lot of NWA talent on this card. I mean, we had Sal Rinauro wrestling on this card. He faced David Ali, the savior of Georgia wrestling. We also saw Marti Belle. She was doing interview segments. She interviewed Danny Jordan, who was appeared on the NWA Circled Squared program that briefly was around for a while. And then, of course, Slice Boogie teaming up with Danny Limelight was another matchup. And was that it? I'm thinking, did I miss anything? Yeah, that's probably it for now. Let's see. What is that? So, yeah, I mean, all in all, it was a fun show. And I do think you'll see these talents, like, intertwine at some point. You know, when you look at a guy like Slice Boogie, who's literally working MLW, the NWA, and the United Wrestling Network, I can foresee an opportunity for him to appear continuously through all three promotions down the road. And I mean, let's not sleep on the fact that we had two Ring of Honor stars appear on this Championship Wrestling from Atlanta. Who knows who we might see next? You know, there could be a lot of fun guys that get brought in. And anyways, I hope they continue to do that. Pro Wrestling Zone podcast says he misses Dave being a part of the NWA. I do too, man. It's kind of a bummer. You have to think of all the old NWA promoters. Nobody put more equity into the NWA than Dave Marquez did. And I'm talking about from 2007 to 2012. And then again, during this pre-pandemic time of the NWA with Billy Corgan and Power and all that stuff that, you know, how it all fell apart, I'm not entirely sure, but it just seemed like it was so mutually beneficial for such a long time. It sucks. Fiona's in the house. Fiona, thanks for checking us out. I know you're busy, but I do appreciate you watching. And yeah, Roswell corrected me, Ida. Yeah, that's right. And then Certified Hustler, big fan of Championship Wrestling from Memphis. I really like what Dustin Starr is doing out there. And not that I'm, you know, celebrating the passing of Burt Prentice, because it's kind of sad, not just from a wrestling standpoint, but his family, his friends, you know, it's really rough. But, you know, there is a power void. There is a void of what USA Championship Wrestling used to do for many, many years in Memphis. And now that you're talking about a promotion that has television, that's nationally supported, you know, it's right now it's the crowning jewel of the United Wrestling Network. And the fact that they're bringing in so many big names. I mean, they've had the Murder Hawk Lance Archer there. They brought in Camille, Teddy Long. I believe the plan is to have, oh gosh, I can't remember who is supposed to come up next. But they've had like the Jungle Boy from AEW there. And Marco Stunt, excuse me, not the Jungle Boy. I'm getting confused, sorry. It just seems like there's a lot of positivity going on there in Memphis. And if they continue to build up Memphis the way that they're going, especially with now that vacuum of wrestling there in Memphis, you know, they're leveraged to be very successful locally. But I mean, things could get really good for them really fast. Let's see. Dave Scooby will be there at MLW Fightland on October the 2nd. Hammerstone versus Jacob Fatu. That match should be amazing. Like, Jacob Fatu has really been kind of swimming around now. I mean, he's working SWE Fury. Of course, he wrestles out here in Southern California with PCW Ultra, and he is your world MLW champion. So there's a lot of fun stuff going on. Brian Rosa says David Ali has a bright future. That kid can go. I'm really excited to see what's next for him. Hustler says he thinks the NWA should get a Hammerstone. WWE came in and stole NWA from the world. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think if WWE was smart, they would pick up a guy like Hammerstone. But who knows, man? I don't. With that, especially with the way things are going lately, I don't know what the plan is with them. So we'll see what happens. That's right. Lamb reminded me, Boogeyman and Tommy Dreamer, and I think right now, Tommy Dreamer. That guy's like, he's back on the indies again, and I think that's pretty cool. Him coming down to Memphis, I hope they talk about that on Busted Open Radio. I know Tommy does a good job of kind of plugging where he goes, so maybe he'll make some noise about Memphis. And then Brian, I would love to come to a Mission Pro show. It's just It's not super easy to get out to Texas or to Oklahoma, but I definitely I support you guys at 100%. I think what you're doing is phenomenal. I tip my cap to you guys. I'm not officially a part of that Mission Pro family, but I definitely enjoy what you guys are doing out there and some of the matches I've seen. I'm a big Genocide fan. I go back with Thunder Rosa and why am I blanking on her name right now? The Twisted Sisters. I can't think of her name. Now I'm frustrated. But I love a lot of what's going on at Mission Pro. And La Rosa Negra, she's a great athlete. I've seen her a couple of times. So definitely rooting for you guys out there in Mission Pro, for sure. So let's see. You're coming to Mesa. When are you going to Mesa, Brian? I can make Mesa. We'll talk about that later. But moving right along to NWA POWERRR. What did you guys think of last week's episode? I've heard a lot of people who are saying, oh, it's great, man. This is what I want. This is exactly what I need. The NWA's got it. And then there's some people who are a little bit like me thinking, man, where is this show going? It was all over the place. It just didn't feel like it was, I kind of felt like it was everywhere. It just didn't seem like it was focused in on anything. I mean, you had Chris Adonis coming out with Melina, which made absolutely no sense to me. Excuse me. You had the women tag team champions being challenged by Paola Mayfield and Genocide, who are, I guess, now officially being managed by Taryn Terrell, and the challenge just kind of came out of nowhere. It didn't really make a lot of sense. And then there's a tournament now to crown a new number one contenders to the tag team champions. The tag team champions are optioning to go to Mexico. It just is all over the place. And then, what's going on with Strictly Business? And I guess some of these answers we'll get tonight, because you have Nick Aldis returning to Power since losing the title, and I think that might have been a little bit rushed. I think they could have probably waited a little bit longer on that, considering he's only been gone for a week, guys. So nobody really had an opportunity to miss him yet. Then the national champion, we know that we have Judais. He'll be the number one contender for the title from the pay-per-view. So we're just trying to get all this worked up and understood and where we stand. Some of you guys' comments. Brian Rosa says November 13th. Okay, Arizona, November 13th. Who's going? Sean Omega says it was all over the place, but he loves that Mecha Wolf got promo time. Mecha Wolf is doing the best of what he gets. I mean, it was only a few minutes, but those promos, I mean, he's pretty good. He's pretty good. I get why they put the belts on him. Terry McDermott says the tag team match from last week was an F- match, just horrible. Are you talking about the one with Captain Yuma? Because I'll have no one will besmirch the name of Captain Yuma on this show. I'm just kidding. Yeah, it was very chaotic. Now, what we do know about this match or this show is that Jeremiah Plunkett will be in action taking on Judas Messias. Now, excuse me, Judais. Not Judas Messias. That's somebody else entirely. Excuse me. Now, if you guys are unfamiliar with Judais, longtime NWA fans will recognize him from his time in NWA Anarchy and in NWA Wildside, where he went by Judas. I don't think... he also spent some time in Puerto Rico. And, I mean, the guy's impressive. He's a big dude. He's definitely no slouch. Somebody asked me, hey, is that a Billy Corgan guy? I said, no, that's a Billy Barons guy. He's a buddy from... Bill Barons is definitely responsible for making sure Judais has a job with the current NWA. And he is an impressive talent, although that Battle Royal was just pretty awful at the 73rd pay-per-view. I don't have a lot of nice things to say about that pay-per-view, but at least having fresh blood into the national title, I mean, I was thinking that Jay the God was going to win, and I really didn't want JTG to win that match. Not because I have anything against him, but just because I did not want to see a repeat of a match we had, a throwaway match that we had just a couple weeks earlier on Power. I think with the NWA, they have to continue to freshen things up. If it gets very repetitive, I think a lot of people are going to be turned off. I mean, that's part of what really soured me on Nick Aldis as World's Heavyweight Champion, is that it was just the same thing over and over again. It was so much repetition. It's just, I can only take so much of the same thing over and over and over again. And I really feel like with the way that Aldis was presented, and also now that Chris Adonis is being presented, I just feel like both of these guys, they need to freshen things up. Now, maybe that's why Molina's with Adonis. I don't know. But at least they could have built in some strategy for that. Chris Dog's in the house. Welcome, Chris. If I didn't say what's up to Sean Mega and Rosville, welcome, guys. I do appreciate you being here. Willie Bowen asks, is Charlie Haas still wrestling? Yes, Charlie Haas is your SWE Fury World Champion. And he, along with Rodney Bigard, if I'm saying that correctly, Red Dog, have formed a faction there as what are they called? The Privileged? I think that's what they're called. And they're kind of dominating SWE Fury, so a lot of fun. Let's see what else. And then the other match we have scheduled for tonight, we have Kylie Rae making her return to Power. We haven't seen her on Power for a while. She'll be taking on Tootie Lynn Ramsey. Now, we saw Tootie Lynn Ramsey have a pretty good go at the pay-per-view, and she did pretty well for herself, but so far has struggled to kind of make an impact in Power, without the pun. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what Tootie Lynn brings tonight. I mean, of course, I'm not betting against Kylie Rae, not now, not ever, but I do feel like that should be a fun match to have. And then we have 2 tag team matches of the quarterfinals for the number 1 contenders, and that feels like so much. Like it just feels like a lot. Scooby, I was gonna get there, man. I'm gonna get to Adonis. We'll break it now. Breaking news: Dave Scooby with the scoop. Our national champion Chris Adonis, who will be wrestling at Preston City Wrestling in the United Kingdom, will be defending his NWA National Championship against Doug Williams. Now let me break down why that's kind of cool. Number 1, Preston City Wrestling, PCW in the UK, has a very close relationship with the National Wrestling Alliance. Now, I'm not going to say that they're full-on affiliate or an alliance or an associate or anything like that, but PCW has continuously booked guys like Nick Aldis, Tom Latimer. Earlier this year, they had booked Tom Latimer, and they had booked Camille to work a show it was supposed to be like late August, like August 13th, August 14th, just ahead of the Empower pay-per-view and the 73rd. However, because of travel restrictions, that match wasn't able to happen, and it's unfortunate because, again, having Latimer wrestling in his home country, having Camille being able to defend her championship in the UK, both of these things are quite exceptional. Both of these things would have been a lot of fun, and of course that just didn't play out. But remember that the national championship heading out there, Doug Williams is one of the guys responsible for the finishing touches, if you will, on our former world's heavyweight champion, Nick Aldis. It was a matchup between the two when Aldis had lost the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship to Cody, that those two were able to square off in a match where the title wasn't on the line. There was no title to defend. And it would be interesting, just to say the least, is if the NWA sending Adonis out to the UK to face Doug Williams. And what happens if Doug Williams wins? What happens if Doug Williams becomes your NWA Transatlantic Champion? You can't really call it a national title anymore if it's being defended in the UK. But how badass would that be? Because Doug Williams is a great wrestler. And who knows, maybe it's Nick Aldis is the one that goes back there to get the title back. I don't know. I know there was talk about the NWA doing a UK tour, and I'm pretty sure that was going to be on the backs of promotions like PCW. Let's see. So more of your guys' comments. Craig says, Craig's in the house. What's up, Craig? And he says, am I right in saying that Charlie Haas defeated Tim Storm for the SWE Fury Championship? I haven't seen much SWE for a while. Craig, I'm not 100% certain, but I believe so. It kind of felt like that was the transition came when Tim Storm left the company right around the same time Charlie Haas won the title. So I think you're correct. Let's see. Certified Hustler is asking for people to not put spoiler alerts even... look, we try not to do spoilers here. If a title changes hands that's newsworthy, we're going to talk about it, but we try not to spoil events as they are because we're fans too. We're all just fans, and I think it's a little disrespectful when people spoil the show. I think it really kind of takes some wins out of the sails, if you will. It's hard for me to get excited about a show if it's been spoiled for me. There are some exceptions to the rule, but I mean, we don't advocate for spoilers here. Any spoiled results that I get, I certainly wouldn't share here on the podcast. Let's see. Hustler saying that he hopes Aldis doesn't have Corgan's ear. I mean, look, he has Corgan's ear, and he's, we still have a new world's champion. Just because you have someone's ear doesn't mean that you're going to be able to dictate what happens in the company. It was the right time to have a new world's heavyweight champion, and I really feel like Trevor Murdoch fit the bill for exactly what the NWA needed. It needed a break from the stuffy. It needed a break from the suit and tie. It needed a champion who, was just about throwing haymakers and punching people as opposed to just getting in and on with promo after promo. So, I think we're all good with who we have as world's heavyweight champion. But that takes us to the tag team quarterfinals, and that's going to put Jordan Clearwater and Cyon, which, oh God, is that any better than the Masked Man? Are you guys happy with that? Cyon. I mean, wasn't that the Toyota car, the Cyon? Oh boy. Cyon and Jordan Clearwater will be taking on The End. Wow. They got the small end of the stick on that one. The End, quite possibly my favorite tag team left in the NWA. Odinson and Paro. I mean, this should be a slam dunk for them as a victory, but, truth be told, you never know with the NWA. And as my good pal DKM says quite regularly, the NWA hates tag team wrestling. So we'll find out how they feel about The End tonight when they take on Clearwater and Cyon. A makeshift tag team, if you will. What the crazy thing about this to me is the Masked Mystery Man says he wants to win a championship, so they put him in a tag team. I mean, he should just be challenging his former boss in Tyrus. They should be putting him in matches with, he should be advocating for himself matches against Chris Adonis or Tyrus. Those are the quickest ways to get to the World's Heavyweight Championship. Nick Aldis even mentioned on the This Is Pro Wrestling podcast, or what maybe it was the NWA recap show, that the number one contender for the World's Heavyweight Championship is the national champion. And that all they have to do is file paperwork to get a shot at the title. So if you are somebody like Cyon who wants to get to the top of the line, beating Chris Adonis and winning that championship puts you to the front of the line. Furthermore, if you don't want to go that route, go beat Tyrus. And if you can defeat Tyrus, then you got to win 7 matches, and then you get nobody can dispute your title match against the World's Heavyweight Champion. There's 2 alternating routes to get you there. And it's not through the tag team division. So that doesn't, again, when we talk about bad booking, this is it. This is it. Why put this guy in a tag team match when he has stated his goals? He's told you where he wants to be, and it is not in the back seat. It is not in the tag team division. It's being world's heavyweight champion. So, again, that's just my 2 cents on that. And then, of course, the other tag team match puts the tag team of Slice Boogie and Marshe Rockett up against the makeshift tag team of Sal Rinauro and Mims. You know, again, does the NWA hate tag team wrestling? The answer is yes. Marshe Rockett has teamed with Slice Boogie in the past, but so is Mims. And Sal Rinauro, I mean, he doesn't even have, like, his last tag team partner was Tim Storm. There's no consistency when they book these tag teams and they take these talents who are just thrown together. I mean, where's Hawk Ari in this tournament? Where, you know, that's a tag team that I think would be worth mentioning. You know, and no disrespect to Captain Yuma, but that kid, the kid he teamed with last week could potentially have a better opportunity for success teaming with a guy like Mims or teaming with a guy like Marshe Rockett. So, I don't know, man. It's just the booking to me is already kind of, at least for this tag team, it's kind of going down. It makes sense why you're sending the tag team champions to Mexico, to the Crash, where I'll be next week, September the 11th, at the Auditorium de Tijuana. Stay tuned to the YouTube channels because I plan on copying and recording and hopefully showing those matches on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/The Alliance blog. But I see some more of your guys' comments, so let's see what else you guys are saying. Certified Hustler, Jordan Clearwater was actually fun to watch up close and personal with the chase. After the show, he was in the hallway, and if you were at the chase, you understand how small it was, and you're near all. Yeah, I mean, I've talked to Jordan Clearwater just a handful of times. Good dude. I like what I see from him. I'm hoping the NWA starts putting some more stock into him, putting him under the tutelage of Austin Idol and Black G's. I think could only help him, but we'll see how that all pans out. Terry McDermott is a huge Jordan Clearwater fan. We know that from back in the day. Willie Bowen wants Dan Joseph to be a part of the NWA Power roster. And the problem with that is he just doesn't fit their bill. As much as I like Dan Joseph, a former United Wrestling Network television champion, he's a little on the small side. And although he's a bigger guy in Hollywood, when you put him in the ring with guys like Jax Dane or Crimson, I mean, he's just very, very small. So he doesn't really check off the boxes for them. And he's got a ton of charisma, but I don't think he works in the NWA. Let me get a drink here. Sorry. Willie Bowen says Tyrus is good for bankrupting Sarah Lee, Betty Crocker, and Duncan Hines. Willie definitely hates Tyrus. There's no doubt about it. And I'm here for that, Willie. You keep that up because it pops me every time I read it. Terry likes Mims. Look, I think Mims is going to be one of those celebrated stories of the NWA. He started off, and I'm just drawing comparisons here. I'm not saying he's the same person or anything, but he started off on the first match of NWA Power, and Peter Avalon started off the first match of Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. And I'm not saying that either one of these things is connected, but it kind of says something about a character who you have that very first match that you could watch their character arc grow. And, you know, right now, big strong boy Mims, big strong man Mims, is kind of in that opportunity where he's growing. And we're learning more about Mims every time he steps out there in the ring. He's kind of grown into like a baby face. And I don't know if that's because the fans won't allow him to be heel, or if that's just naturally how the NWA wants to use him. But whatever reason, he's getting over with the local NWA audience, whether it was in St. Louis, Missouri, or in Atlanta, Georgia. And if this continues to grow, you know, there's nothing stopping him from becoming the next NWA television champion. And if they stay with him long enough, there's nothing stopping him becoming an NWA World's Heavyweight Champion down the road, obviously. But I think it's pretty cool that you're seeing a character from the very beginning of his story, of his journey, and we'll see where the NWA takes him. And I think that's pretty awesome. Craig S. says, Sal Rinauro, the man who can never tag with the same wrestler twice. That should be on a t-shirt, maybe. He was very cool at Atlanta. I didn't get a chance to really talk to him, but you could see him engaging fans. He was very high-spirited, and that was coming off of the weekend that they had in Missouri. I mean, a lot of these guys who were out in Missouri didn't get home until like Wednesday or Thursday. So the fact that he got home on Wednesday and then drove to center stage to be a part of Championship Wrestling from Atlanta just shows you how committed this guy is to working the plan. And seeing him in that environment is so much different because, again, where the NWA relies on those heavyweight wrestlers, 6'4", 220 pounds plus, putting Sal Rinauro in a ring with a guy like David Ali, you can kind of see a different style there, and you could see a Sal Rinauro who's a little bit more aggressive and who can do a little bit more power style wrestling, who could take higher risks because he's in a matchup with a guy that he needs to in order to stay competitive. So it was cool to see Sal Rinauro out of that NWA environment and into an environment that's more conducive to his success. And I hope down the road I hope he just continues to work both shows. Dodie says, I have no idea what Billy's obsession with Cyon. He seems to gets a super push. Yeah, it's really like, look, I'm all for creating gimmicks that are natural to the NWA. I think you have to do that because there's going to be guys who come and go, but some of these faces that you can get to stick with the NWA. Remember when Josephus put on the question mark mask is when he really got over with that fan base. But that isn't this. This doesn't connect. The question mark and the masked mystery man Cyon have no correlation except for both men wore masks. So I don't know what Billy sees in Cyon, but hopefully, he's a decent wrestler. I don't have anything against the guy. I just don't think he's as important to the overall product as maybe the NWA does. But we'll see how that continues to go. Wrestling with the MMA says, and speaking of the Scions from Toyota, that they were cool cars, they just weren't all that reliable. One of my best friends had that Scion XB, and it literally looked like a giant dice, just a big cube. It was the weirdest looking car ever, but it did have had a cool stereo system. Roswell says he likes Dan in the United Wrestling Network. Yeah, I mean, he's great. He was a part of the United Wrestling Network Tag Team Champions as Pac 3, and that was a fun group. Dickie Meyer and, oh God, I'm forgetting the other guy's name. I know if Lamb's in the chat, he'll remember it. But they were a fun tag team trio. Of course, he won the United Wrestling Network Television Championship. He went from a really bland babyface into a very fun heel, and then eventually became a very fun oh hey, we just got a new subscriber, Matthew Underwood. Thanks for subscribing, bro. I do appreciate you doing that. I think you and I chat on Instagram quite often, so I'm glad you took a second to subscribe to the channel. It really means a lot to me. So yeah, I do hope to see more of Dan in the future, but I hope it's with the United Wrestling Network. Willie Bowen says that Tyrus's law firm is Haagen-Dazs. Oh. Willie, you're the best. I can't remember his name being talked much last season at the Guys podcast and else. Mims. No, Mims did not have that big of a role last season. I mean, he had a few good matches and they were fun, but he really didn't have a big role. I think he and Slice Boogie teamed up and defeated the War Kings, and I think that was kind of like his big pivotal moment. He had a big victory against Jeremiah Plunkett on an episode of Power Surge, but Mims didn't really have that much to brag about that season. Lamb says CWF Atlanta gave a lot of Atlanta talents a chance to finally work TV, so that's cool to see. Yeah, and I think that's important. I think that's real important, because when you look at the NWA and you look at Center Stage with Championship Wrestling from Atlanta, and then you look at some of the independents, like I think it's not Ring of Honor, it's Southern Honor Wrestling, something like that, and then Country Fried Wrestling. I'm probably butchering these promotions. There's a lot of little promotions out there in Georgia, and they're featuring some pretty big talent, some big names, and some of these guys just need an opportunity to shine, and maybe they won't get that with the NWA, but maybe they will with Championship Wrestling from Atlanta. But I mean, more than anything else, come December, if everything goes right with Championship Wrestling from Atlanta and everything goes right with the NWA, you've got two big television promotions working your area. Now, don't get me wrong, I know the NWA is on Fight TV and Championship Wrestling from Atlanta is on Peachtree TV. This isn't the same as AEW. This isn't the same as the WWE. You are 100% correct, but it does say something about the available talent in that area down in Atlanta, where the wrestling community is growing. And I mean, on a Thursday night, you had reportedly 248 tickets sold for Championship Wrestling from Atlanta on a Thursday night, on a school night, mind you. Like, that's saying something. Hopefully the attendance will get better, and the pricing for tickets are going to be cheaper going forward, so it should be pretty cool. Judais says, Rosville says, Chris Drummond says, the NWA does hate tag team wrestling. I mean, it kind of feels like it. Rosville says, only until we find out who Cyon really is. And see, that's the thing, Rosville. When we find out who he is, like, it becomes even less interesting. He's a good wrestler, but he's nobody who you're going to be like, oh, it's Bryan Danielson all this time. No, it's nobody that you're going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe it's him. For most of you, you won't know who it is if that name is ever announced, and I hope they never do. I hope it stays quiet. Matthew Underwood says Clearwater will have the TV title soon. He might. I mean, look, if they're building that up, they're in the right place. Tyrus just defeated G's last week in his first title defense. Maybe Clearwater is next. Maybe that feud will break out of this, and maybe Clearwater versus Tyrus is the feud that will move that TV title forward. Lamb says Pac 3, you mean? Dan Joseph, Flex McAllen, and Dylan Bostic. Dylan, who I was talking about. And don't forget about Dickie Meyer. He was a good, important part of that tag team for a long time, too. Terry McDermott says Mims was at the table at the Chase press conference. He was. Which kind of lends to his importance in the company. Rosville says we got to put together a map with the promotions. That would be interesting. Rosville, you talking about just Atlanta, or are you talking about the entire United States? Because that'd be a lot. That'd be a very difficult map to do. Willie Bowen says Brock Lesnar, like Hulk Hogan, steroid using Hogan are the biggest farces that entered pro wrestling. Fair enough. Lamb says the difference between the NWA and ATL is Atlanta is NWA will be in the town only 2 to 3 months. ATL will be in Atlanta every month once. Yeah, I mean that's also true. I don't believe the Championship Wrestling from Atlanta group plans on leaving Center Stage. I think that's where they want to tape their episodes, and as far as I know, they're set to be there the rest of the year every month. They tape 4 episodes at one taping, so it is a long night, but it's pretty cool when you can catch it. Chris says it's Enzo. If the masked man ended up being Enzo, what a waste of promo time. The best thing about Enzo is when someone hands him a microphone. His work rate is whatever, but you put a mic in that guy's hand and he could sell you matches. If he if he was Cyon, I think more people would care. Fiona says she might head down for Doug versus Adonis. If Doug's your boy, then he's our boy, because I really enjoy Doug Williams, and I would love to see him win that NWA National Championship. That would be awesome, just because it would cause confusion and chaos. I know taping's already set I guess through until December when the NWA returns to the Georgia Public Broadcasting Studios. But how cool would it be for Doug Williams to win that title, and then somebody from the NWA would have to go win it back? Or perhaps Doug Williams defends the title at the Georgia Public Broadcast Studios. I would be okay with either one of those. Matthew Underwood says he's disappointed that Hard Times 2 is a GPB. Also, is James Storm sticking around? Yes, I think James Storm is sticking around. He wasn't under contract with Impact Wrestling. Those were on appearances. So more of him in the NWA, I think, is a good thing. And I've seen a little bit of footage. He is around for a while, so it'll be fun to see. Wrestling with the MMA says he would love to see Enzo as someone's manager in any promotion. Look, my whole thing about Enzo has kind of flipped 180. He was a guy who I really couldn't stomach early on, but the more I hear him cut promos, and the more I hear him in interviews or podcasts, and he's very excited about the world of professional wrestling. And even though he's had the highs and lows of working with the WWE, was cruiserweight champion and then had the rug pulled out from underneath him, and part of that's due to some of his lifestyle choices that he's made. He still has that passion for pro wrestling. And honestly, if he was, a couple inches bigger, a couple of pounds heavier, he would be one of these guys that the NWA would absolutely take a chance on. And I'm just going to throw it out here right now. The NWA took a chance on the Pope because they knew that he could compete in the ring and that his promos would be money. Enzo's a guy, oh God, I can't believe I'm complimenting Enzo. Enzo's a guy that would make a lot of sense in the NWA, way too much sense for the NWA. It's probably why he won't show up, but he would make a lot of sense. And I hear you, Wrestling MMA. You say that you don't want to see him in the ring, but I'm telling you, he makes a lot of sense for the NWA. So much sense. Let's see. Lamb says 7 more minutes before NWA Power. That's right, man. We're going to wrap this up. Chris Drummond says Jeff Jarrett needs to run the NWA. I mean, Jeff Jarrett needs to buy the NWA first, and I don't think he's got money to buy that from Billy. If anyone's going to buy the NWA, I think it's going to be Triller or Fight or a combination of both. Again, of course, Fight TV is the company that broadcasts the NWA, and Triller is the company that owns Fight TV. So there is money there. I don't see Billy really all that excited to sell the NWA. So it's probably all just for nothing, but I do think it'd be cool if well, I don't think it'd be cool because I kind of like how the NWA is going right now, but I think in order to grow, they might need some more investors. They might need to grow this brand, and I don't know how long Billy can keep doing it by himself. Okay, so that's gonna do it, guys. We did it. We went over an hour today here on the pre-party. I hope you're pumped up for Power. I hope you're pumped up for the tag team matches. I hope you're pumped up from Kylie Rae and Tootie Lynn. I hope you're pumped up for Nick Aldis's goodbye. I don't know. Dave says, just say no to Enzo. Oh, no, that was DKM. DKM says, just say no to Enzo. And if you guys enjoyed this podcast, and I really hope you do, it's a lot of fun for me. If you enjoy this podcast, make sure you hit that thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. It really helps us out, whether you're doing it on YouTube or if you're watching on Twitch. Hit that follow button and, share this content with people you know who love pro wrestling, who love the NWA, or who love championship wrestling from Atlanta, Hollywood, Memphis, wherever. We're here to talk about pro wrestling and the niches that we like. If you want to financially support it, you can by buying hats like this on our merch store. You can buy t-shirts like this one, like this guy right here, at our merch store. And you can find that merch store at merchlabs.com/the Alliance blog 1 /merch. And if you have one of these ones, you have a collectibles because they ain't being printed anymore. The ham sandwich jabroni t-shirt. So again, thank you everyone for joining us. We'll be back here Thursday night to recap Empower, to recap the 73rd, to talk about the last 2 episodes of Power. So it's going to be a long episode Thursday night. I hope you guys will be here with Kevin Frazier, the former NWA World Junior Heavyweight Champion, the modern day hero, and of course my pal DKM, who says say no to Enzo. And also, if you'd like to follow us on social media at the Alliance blog all across the board. That's going to do it for us. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night, and we'll see you at the matches.